Our guest today is an insanely talented artist who practices with many different mediums, but with a strong focus in graffiti. You can see his work in a number of cities and in many locations of Portland. I think he'd agree with me that his life has been very challenging in a lot of ways, but he has managed to filter the bad and try to bring some goodness to the people he meets and through the art he creates. I had a great time talking with this guy. Here's my friend, the Earwig. So, how'd you get into art?
Oh, my mother's an artist. So, I mean, I guess you could say ever since I can remember I've been drawing. But it was just, is what it is. Like, just regular drawing. It wasn't like, I wasn't practicing nothing. I had no ideas about it of any kind. So, eventually, we were having, like, rough times as, like, a family. And we would, like, split and go to, like, certain parks and stuff for a while. And eventually, one we came across had, like, a graffiti piece in the back. Like, it was summer, you know what I mean? Like, someone came and painted the back of the school, like, while the school was shut down. And it was, like, the coolest thing I'd ever seen, ever. Like,
how old were you when you saw that?
I was probably 10, 11.
Okay.
And so when I saw it, you know, it was, like, the coolest colors. It was, like, this cool piece. Like, there was letters. I didn't understand that yet, but it had, like, little spades coming off of it and, like, just cool shapes. Everything was, like, real soft and almost like I knew it wasn't airbrush because I'd already been trying to, like, look at the way certain things worked, like certain mediums. And next thing you know, I just wanted to keep going back and I just kept trying to draw it. And then it got painted over, as it always does.
Mm-hmm.
It just got, and I was like, all right, well, it just kept trying to reproduce it over and over and over. Eventually started to learn that it was graffiti. And then I started seeing it random places here and there. It was like my favorite guy at the time because it was the only person I seen. His name was Such. He was just like super clean. It looked like airbrush art. It was like, I couldn't figure it out.
This was in California?
No, this is in Mesa, Arizona, actually.
Okay.
So a place where you don't really see much graffiti and there's not really any at this point. There is some, and there's people that are around that have been there for years, but it's not like here, you know, or like in the Bay Area or anything like that. But yeah, that just stuck with me. And so through graffiti, I learned art. I learned color theory and all that stuff, not from studying anything. I didn't go to art school or, I didn't really even make it past like 7th grade. 8th grade, you know, I was just like, fuck it, I really don't give a shit about this. And everything was so bad at home, you know, I was just like, this is, you know, it's like make sure everyone's taken care of and shit. And I was a rowdy kid. I could cause trouble, you know, so it would be like I would make sure that my family was taken care of and I would just do whatever I wanted to do. And no one really had control of me. So it was like, as long as I was smart, like I got less guff about it. So I just learned to be real smart at a certain point and started painting literally like around like 12, 13. And just from fucking shit up, you know, just like what you see around here. Because a lot of the stuff you see around here with a lot of young kids, you know what I mean? They're just kids playing, you know, everyone thinks.
You're talking about some of the graffiti here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that because I want to talk about like the level of quality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fun topic.
Yeah. So you were in California and then you moved to Mesa?
No, I was born and raised in Mesa.
Okay. I lived in Tempe for a year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And we used to go there. There's a lot of fun times had there in that one area. Most of my friends lived over there. Like, It's a nice little spot. That's a good spot to move
Yeah.
to. I don't know what it was like when you were there. How long ago was that?
I was there in 2005.
It was all right.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I did not appreciate the heat.
No, I love it. Yeah.
I miss it now because...
Yeah. Well, the sun.
Yeah, dude. You live here for 20 years. You're like, where is it, man?
It is.
It's almost
true.
June. It hasn't been out since last summer.
Yeah. I've been coming back and forth to here since I've been like, 16, 17 to visit my brother. I lived in like a punk squat in Salem. So then I transferred from Salem to here. So, but yeah, basically Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, we would run around all there and do all kinds of stuff over there.
Okay, so you started drawing based on the stuff you saw from Such, S-U-C-H?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. Yep. And then you started painting. And so it's cool that you had an outlet because it sounds like things were a little rugged for a bit. And
I did. I mean, skateboarding kind of, but graffiti and drawing mainly, you know what I mean? Instead of like going ham on like partying and drugs, you know, like real young. It was like, kept me in line.
Yeah.
Actually, it's kept me in line all the time because the better I got, the more I didn't want to lose it.
Okay.
And the more you got, farther from reality, the more you lost it. Some people think that it makes you creative or do it. It didn't do that for me. It doesn't do either or.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of drugs too, and I think it can be good for some people. But I know a lot of people who didn't quite get out of it.
Yeah.
And so that was...
I don't regret it. The experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's who I am. It's taught me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if you're able to kind of shut it off when you can, because if you don't, then you just get lost in it. But it did some things for me and has done some things for me. So I don't always shit on drugs.
No, not at all. Like, it's not one to judge or anything like that. It's just I know for myself, from my own person, that I went through the ringer. I got lost in the sauce a couple times, multiple things. Lost my life multiple times. It was like, in a sense. So it's like all those experiences, just I don't want that in my life. And that wasn't a way to be happy. It was a way to make things work for me, But like I said, it showed me how to make it work. Yeah. It's like I said, at some point you have to like rely on your own, how smart are you going to be? What are you going to do? Some people just follow along with the shit and that's it. They don't know there's no different. Luckily, I'm been exposed to so many different sides growing up that I knew there's so many things you could do. Almost like it's limitless. You just got to pick which one. Be clear-headed enough for that.
Yeah, you just got to go for it.
Yep, pretty much. Just pick it and run.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, they get too worried that they're going to get judged. Yeah. And I mean, the classic thing where you're worried about failure. So you just don't even try.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just like one of those things where you just like, with the judging thing in the art, it's just like, I'd rather them live in that than like me as a person. You know what I mean? I don't have anything really to hide at all. So it's just like not wanting my character to be affiliated with those characters and like those things. Like I want those to be free in their imagination. Because that was a big deal to me personally. Like when I saw some people, it's just like, oh man, not to be whatever, but I'm like, that's the fucking dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they're like just an asshole and you're like, all right, well, that burnt it for me. Now I don't even want to look at it. So I just avoid like, kind of getting into it with them. And I hope that when I do run into them or I'm exposed to them, that it's something that, which it won't always be, something that'd be pleasant to me in a sense, something that'd be inspiring. Yeah. I don't know. So many different routes to go through with that.
So how long did you keep painting?
I paint.
You still do now?
I still actively paint. I paint different from a different generation. We do things differently.
What do you mean?
It's like it's not so much about like the let me be everywhere game. You know what I mean? It was about skill and style and like, making things that were like generally dope. Yeah. Flexing on people, but the talent, of like what we could do under pressure. You know what I mean? And because we want you to want to keep it. You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't want it to be gone. And even in the sense of like traditional, like graffiti, you know what I mean? Like we were like very specific about where we put things. It wasn't to damage anything or assault anybody. Like that wasn't my intention personally. I was just doing my thing. I enjoy it. You know what I mean? It gets me on my head. Like you said, like I had a rough, it gets something for me to do that's positive,
Well, do some people do graffiti with negative intentions?
Yeah, like there's like a lot of different intentions. It's kind of just like with anything. You got those people that are like, they're like, fuck you. They just want to write fuck you on the wall. Yeah. Or some hateful ass shit. You know what I mean? And then you got like people who are out there writing like, I don't know if you were here. There's a point where someone was writing hope so and I love you all over the place.
I remember I love you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool. Even though it was crappy and it would be like all over some like parts of Southeast Industrial, you'd be like, jeez. Took up that whole space with that. Yeah. But like you got to learn to appreciate that. That's like someone's trying to put something out there, and I don't care for the hateful shit, but I do appreciate it in a way. I appreciate all graffiti in some sense. It's like a freedom, some type of freedom that I see. But at the same time, it can become something else to other people. You know what I mean? And I try to look at it in a very well-rounded way that. I try to involve everyone in my mind. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's not because I think everyone's going to care or I want everyone to see it. It is for who it's for and who wants to see it and who with the people that are trying to keep their stuff a certain way, or like, I don't want to fuck their shit up.
Yeah.
They didn't do nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Then there's other people that have done shit to me, and I'll fuck their shit up. But it's like eye for an eye. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not the best way to be. That's not the way to do it. You know what I mean? But, and like I said, I had gone through a lot to learn not to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important to me, to be kind and like to be, to try and get to motivate that right now with all the stuff we have going on.
Yeah.
Because it's so bad. And with even the groups, whether we get along or not, there's a lot of infighting within those groups. And that all defeats all the purposes of what everyone's trying to do.
You're talking about different groups within Portland
or anywhere, yeah. Just like all the groups, like you see so much just infighting within them now. And I'm just speaking from my perspective. That's what it seems like. And so almost it's like anyone on your team will almost turn on you.
Yeah.
So it becomes scary. Because you're on your own. You can't really do anything. You can't go spend a bunch of money and save a bunch of people. You can't go do specific things and say, like, you literally have to just do your one thing at a time and be good to whoever, is in your vicinity, in a sense, as much as a shithead I could be. And as crazy as I could seem at times, like, it's like my general thing is like just a good. I just like, now I just want to see good and good people and shit. And
it's better for everybody.
It is. Or at least, when those people that are drowning in it, at least they got us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of, we'll be there.
Yeah. So when did you start using?
Oh, I started early. Like I started smoking at 7.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't talking about that, but we can go there if you want.
Oh, what are you talking about? Using spray paint?
Yeah.
I was like, it's drugs or spray paint. It's one of the two. Spray paint, though, I was like literally like 13, 14. Started trying stuff. And it never stopped from there. I've never really had a break. This is kind of like the longest I've gone taking a break. And that's because I've gone through a lot of life stuff in the last little bit. Like, really, like, getting my mother here and, doing a lot of, like, personal stuff that helps me get myself back focused, like, where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To where we can produce the things that we want to produce. And
So you haven't been doing any art recently?
I've been doing constant. Yeah, it's constant, but it's a lot of work. It's just more jobs. And then sometimes they're just coming in so fast, people need things done. I'll just go in there and blast pieces, have a great time. And like these people are getting things that are stuff that I normally do on my own. So I have a lot of fun, and I appreciate every single person that has like given me an opportunity just to do what I do. They really give me a lot of creative freedom. Most of the time, I won't take it if I don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to be miserable doing that. I've been miserable long enough. I don't care about money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a cool thing about art. And if you decide at some point that you're willing to part with it for money, because, I mean, everybody's got to make money somehow to live.
100%.
And I don't see anything wrong with selling your art or selling your music or anything like that.
Not at all. But it can create a stress. You know what I mean? If you're solely making things for money, eventually you're just like trying to think, you're like forcing, it's like take the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what people like. You have a formula. You know your market. Like, I'm trying not to care about my market. I love them. I appreciate them. But like it's about like kind of what I want to make. You know what I mean? And the things I'm producing, and if you want it, you want it, and if you don't, you don't. Like, I find other ways to make money. I always have. And so it's like, I just appreciate doing art. So I try and find a way while making the money to still enjoy it, to still appreciate it, and give everybody something special, and still try and tie things in that, they want in with it, and things that represent things to them. And so it is kind of, I love being in tune with people once again, you know what I mean, with the art thing, but it is very personal to me. And I've given a lot of my energy to a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of things like that, to where, I just learned that sometimes it makes me more miserable than anything, So.
Well, yeah, and I guess if you get hired to do something, you can't really just stop in the middle and be like, fuck you guys.
No. Unless I'm getting treated bad, I don't. I'll follow through. You know what I mean? Like, that's my thing, is I like to be reliable. I like to deliver.
Yeah.
It's been like my thing for a long time.
Well, so going back, so you started spray painting at 13, and I mean, obviously you've probably learned a million things, but what did you do then? How did you approach it compared to now? Like, what What did it take for you to get to where you are?
Well, like a lot of people laugh because it was like a lot of drawing in between the painting, like figuring out what I wanted to execute and like where I wanted to execute it. You know what I mean? I really not trying to impress like the every random person. You know what I mean? It's just like there was like a focus. Now it's like there's so much, and I can just kind of go do whatever, and I have such a good formula. It's like free, but you can't get too comfortable. You have to be, still keep your feet on the ground, even though it's exciting. Like with the pandemic, you have all the pandemic writers, the pandemic graffiti that came. You got a lot of kids that were bored and their friends painted, and they're like, that's fun. And they went out and they're like, this is a new thing, and the internet's blown up on the internet. So kind of what was sacred to us and what was precious to us isn't really like that anymore. And I don't think it really ever was. I think it just felt like that to me until it got so big to now it's just surrounding everything. And so I moved quieter. I don't want to be friends with them anymore. We used to be like clicked up. Mm-hmm. But
so it definitely, the amount within Portland grew in the last 2 years, right?
Oh, ridiculously.
Yeah.
Ridiculously. Yeah.
And so you think that is mainly because people didn't have anything to do?
No one has an outlet. Everyone wants to be, doing something. And then, especially now, like the street thing and people being, like money and jewelry and cars and being a G, you know what I mean? Like being a gangster, you know what I mean? Like I'm street.
Yeah.
I love that. No, it's like, so like there's a lot of people that want to be that rugged, you know what I mean? And not to say I'm like a rugged person, but coming from like a place of where it's been pretty rough, like I don't want that. Like, you know what I mean? I honestly, I think that anyone that really is coming from that don't want to be around that, and they're trying to improve their lives. It's not like watching all these people who are kind of being like, this is an image thing, it's an aesthetic, you know what I mean? And so they're going out and getting hurt, portraying that, getting themselves into things, just kind of like mocking like all kind of what's happening with graffiti, because it's no longer about like the letters, it's kind of like portion of it is. It's not about like impressing yourself or anything like that. It's like, let me show everybody else, and I don't give a fuck. Let me show you how much I don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. And just how crazy I am, or all, climb this, climb that.
Well, it seems like it's one of those things, like most things, I guess, where you have to do it a lot to get good at it.
Very much so.
And you
have to do it the right way to get good at it, though. You can't just like go out there and just be like spraying and hope that you're going to get better. You know what I mean? Like you have to like have like, you have to have influences and like see what certain people are doing. Like if that's what you're trying to do, like to get good, like you have to work at it. It's really hard. I've dedicated pretty much my entire life like to it, and people don't even know that. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't go around telling people that, but it's like my entire life. I have I've had like a handful of jobs, man.
Yeah.
I come from a super, poor background, and then it's like I don't care about money. Like I was like literally concerned with that. Made me happy. I would just pursue it 24/7. And aside of that, I'd be drawing, and then I got introduced to art. So then I was doing canvases, and then getting commissions on top of that. And so not only am I practicing, but I'm doing it 24/7 for job, hobby, fun, play, everything. I feel like the most boring person in the entire universe because that's all like my life's consumed with.
No, dude, it's good. It is the direction you expect people to go when they say they want to be an artist or they want to do something creative. Like you have to do it all the time. Like one of my kids will be like, "Oh, I want to be a professional soccer player," and I'm like, "You should be playing soccer right now. You have to do it all the time, man."
Yep.
That's the only way you get good at something is to just constantly do it.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
And think about it.
Yeah.
You have to breathe that. You have to want, but the most important thing is you have to want it. And for the right reason.
Yeah.
Because you can put a lot of time into something that you want to be, and then all of a sudden realize that you want to be that. And I'm going to restart.
Yeah. Button. Well, yeah. Sometimes, I mean, I should not attempt to be a professional basketball player. That's not going to work out well. You know?
Me too. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you gotta kind of fit in a mold in a certain way, and then you got to have that dedication and the ambition, and then you just got to do it.
Like finding your lane is a whole different thing. It's a whole nother part of it.
Yeah.
And honestly, not until I was having so much time or so much fun that time in my life that I didn't know what it was building. So if that says anything to anybody, if you can like immerse yourself in to the enjoyment and to how much you love that. Like, I'm not the best, but I can do anything I want. You know what I mean? If I really want to do something, I can do it. As with art, and I can not do it for months. I could not, practice or do anything, and I can still just pop the shit out for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, what do I want to do? Yeah. And so it's like what makes me generally happy, and that's why I'm like, I love it when I just see people doing their thing, whether they're in it long or short. The things that get produced through all those different stages are important. And there's funny little like things to all those.
So when did you become the Earwig?
Probably around 2002, I think. 2001, 2002.
20 years.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
And do you want to talk about how that came about?
Like the name?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had like a really crappy tweaker stepdad at a point in time. He was super mean to me. He used to just beat the crap out of me all the time. I was the only one that he'd really pick on. And so he'd watch movies with me. Like, for instance, like we watched like Kung Fu one day, and I stayed home from school. And then like all of a sudden he, after we're done watching this shit, I was like playing toys. You know what I mean? I was like 5, 6, something like that, 7, something like that. And he was like, come look at this. And, as an adult, you think about it and you're like, oh, weird. This drug addict dude's calling me into this back room. It's dark, in the house. He's like, come here, I'm going to show you something. So I like walk back there, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, yeah, it's an adult. You're like, you look up to them in some way. You're like, okay, yeah, he's going to show me something cool, And it gets in there and he stands me against the wall and he's like, here, stand right here. And then like, he just like stood in front of me and then like roundhoused me in the head. You know what I mean? Like kicked me in the head and I flew into the wall and then he just like walked out of the room like it was nothing. And then, I mean, that continued for like a little while. That continued for like at least a year, like of that kind of stuff. And then at one point I watched the Beastmaster with him and then he like, I don't know if you've seen the Beastmaster.
Mm-mm.
So there's this point where they like catch this guy and they like put him down on this table, right? And they put an earwig in his ear and it eats his brain and go crazy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this dude, we had irrigation in our backyard. He put me down in the irrigation. Like, and, mind you, like my mom, she's the most loving woman. She was not around when these things were happening. I was a very quiet kid. I did not talk about any of the stuff as it happened or when it happened. I didn't really think I really showed emotion about it. I was very to myself, as I still am. And so eventually I'm sitting out there playing toys in the irrigation, just kind of on my knees playing in the water. And all of a sudden my head slams down into the water and he's holding my head underwater. And then he like goes to cram this thing in my ear and I can feel it crawl across my face. And then I can, as I'm like freaking out, I was like young. It's like, 6, 7, something like that. 8. Yeah. It's
Dude,
crazy, man.
I don't know what fucking inspires somebody to do something like that.
Hate for other people, they're not happy in themselves and they have their own issues. You know what I mean? They have like, so like I had to learn that, do a lot of therapy and things like that, that there's like, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
That was not my problem. He had a problem with like other people and he was like taking that out on me most of the time.
Yeah.
And so, but eventually I learned to like get older, I got older and I was like, oh, yeah, I don't even have to say. You already know.
So
know what I mean?
You took all those shitty, horrible experiences and turned them
into something
art.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what it was to me, is because I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the fear of not having control and someone so big just had all control over me. You know what I mean? And like by chance, that thing ran out of my ear. And like I saw it. You know what I mean? That's how I knew that's what that was. That's what the name came from.
Mm-hmm. What's the 22?
22 is like, I was a day of the month I was born on. And then when I was 22 years old, I was kind of in the midst of a drug habit, like a heavy drug habit, and my lungs collapsed. And so I ended up in the hospital, and it was like a life-changing event. Like I was supposed to go out to California and paint with some people that I really loved, you know what I mean, their work. And as soon as I wasn't able to make it, they were like, no, we can't. And contract void, everything, all because I was deciding to live a certain way. My body just shut down at the time that I needed it most.
So is that when you quit?
Kind of. That's when I started quitting. And then I think I was completely done by 25 when my daughter was going to be born.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I decided to clean up my act, kind of, you could say. It took a long time. I did about 10 years sober. After that, then I had a relapse. So, just had a lot of other problems, made some big changes and stuff. I have a lot of weird traumas and stuff, so I get triggered sometimes with things. And yeah, sent me into a spiral, and I actually had a relapse, and I'm actually like, what, 2 years, a little over 2 years now, sober again. California sober, we'll say.
Yeah, you were saying that
One
earlier.
thing that keeps me happy and sleepy and eating, and you know what I mean? And like, keeps me a little less stressed, you know what I mean? I wish I could drink. I have like a drink like once a month maybe. I have like a shot in the beer, but other than that, I just like to keep it. But I don't crave any of that shit, you know what I mean? I'm actually really happy with how I feel, and I feel much better, and
It's cool, man.
my brain works. It's not firing off something.
So you said 20. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said you said 22, and you had the contract, but then they nixed it. When did you start getting paid for work?
I've been getting paid probably since about 18, 19. Like, people just started paying me for random stuff. Like, even my first tattoos, like, it's like, I think they were like 17 years old. This weird dude at a shop was like, "Can you please paint the Terminator inside of my place?" And I was like, "Sure."
Inside his house?
No, inside his tattoo shop. And so I was like, "All right." And I was like, "Well," he was like, "I'll trade you for this." Because at that point, I wasn't really aware of that I could get things for it. And he was like, "I'll trade you a tattoo for the Terminator head." And I was like, "All right." So I did him this big old Terminator head and some other stuff. And next thing you know, I got tattoos, and I'm showing up, and they're terrible. They're the worst. Best decision I made ever. But I still got them. I'm not covering them up. I'm just keeping them.
Yeah, dude, that's the other thing. I equate tattooing as an art to tagging or to spray painting, because
They kind of go hand in hand.
you have to do them to get better. And there's this guy in the town that I grew up in, and he started by doing all our friends and stuff.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
And they weren't great,
Just
but he
start
got
poking.
better.
Yep.
Yeah, you.
Just stab a dude. That's all you got to do. Just start it like that. Everything starts like that.
Yeah, dude.
One poke at a time.
So you were doing stuff in Mesa, and did you continued hanging out there and doing work?
I did for a while. I got stuck there because of my drug habit, if you could say that. I like, when I would travel, I would only leave for a very short period of time. I would come back. It was really hard on me to go back and forth. So I mainly tried to make all my work happen where I was. Yeah. And so we got in with a lot of weird people. You know what I mean? We got in with a lot of weird people, and a lot of like rich Scottsdale people, and you know what I mean? And weird things happen, and you're just like, I'm out of here.
You mean like they were your friends, or you were doing work for them and getting paid?
They wanted us to, like, they were like, I guess they saw something in us, and they tried to like collect us, like, as a bunch of younger people. You know what I mean? So it seemed like they were like waiting for us to produce something that they could sell. So they gave us all this space and give us all this stuff for free. And we would just be like, all right, we didn't even think anything of it. We're like, what? Hell yeah. Free drugs and alcohol and everything. Like, I can paint here whenever I want and all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? I was like,
and did they own what you produced?
No.
No?
We would just keep it.
Okay.
We wouldn't even bring it to them. So they started getting frustrated. You know? We like fucked the property up, but we would be like, I'm keeping everything. And I would sell everything on my own anyway. So if I had it, like, someone I know would buy it first.
Yeah.
And, or somebody that I know. Like, and I did a lot of, like, what do you call it? Like, live painting for a little bit for one of my friends. He had like an event that he did called the Blunt Club. Adam Dumper, he's a cool dude. He did a lot. He's done a lot. You know, he's an amazing individual. He has done so much. I mean, people don't even know. But he would let me paint at these events live. So a lot of people just in the scene started recognizing me and seeing me, and they liked my pieces and liked my stuff. So it wasn't anything to do with being popular. It was just like, you know, people became aware that you were around and they liked your stuff. So it was like, I was luckily one of those people that a lot of people came to. And
so how and why did they like your stuff? Because of your style?
I don't know. I did a lot of like depressing work for a little while. Like, it was really like I was going through a lot. And so it was like real emotional. It was real, but at the same time, it was hardcore graffiti. Yeah. So it was like on some like Lil Peep vibe, kind of before Lil Peep kind of. And that's, it's just emo. Yeah. Emo, hardcore graffiti. Like, I'm sad, but I'll punch you in the face. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of shit. I'm just angry at everything at one point. But yeah.
It's good, man. I mean, that's necessary. If you got things going on, you got to find a way to get them out. And it sounds like that's what you're doing.
So as that's changed, as like, because things pulled me away from that, from art, kind of doing creative-ish art, like more like speaking with my emotions and stuff in like a character sense, almost into where it turned just straight into graffiti and was like, this is all just coming out into my pieces, which people don't get that as much. So unless you're a part of the community or you understand graffiti, those are the only people then who are buying it. You know what I mean? And
or other artists.
Either other artists or fans of that genre. So now I'm not getting so like with the emotional art, like type you could call it. I don't know what the hell to call it, but with my characters and stuff, there's a lot more. It's got a bigger market of people that appreciate it because they're like, oh, you know, the character's eyes or the emotion on the face, or I love the heart, or you know, the colors, or it's just easier to digest a character. With those letters that we do, it's like, have fun. If you don't know, like, have fun figuring. I mean, you can be like, it looks cool, but like, I bet you, like, it's gonna be really hard for you to figure out actually what's going on. You know, and
you're talking about some of your recent stuff.
Yeah.
I was looking at it and I couldn't tell what it said either.
Very hard to figure out to somebody who doesn't do it. You know, it's kind of, I like it like that. It's like a thing. I don't want anyone to really care about who I am. I just want it to be what it is, and you recognize it for what it is. You could almost be like, the same person did that. It's
very distinctive. So, well, and dude, that's how I found out about you. I was just on Portland Reddit, and they're like, "Yeah, that's the Earwig," and I was like, "Who's that?" And I looked you up on Instagram.
That's
and
me.
Yeah, man, you're.
That's me. I try to be good to my community, and they're very good to me. You know, even though that the genre of art that I'm in is not the most. It's not viewed as the most great thing right now. You know what I mean? But that's where we all come from. That like, okay, if we can step into the subject of quality.
Yeah, I was just thinking, let's go there.
So, number one, I try to remember that everyone has to start somewhere. And then for any of this to get better, we have to embrace it in some kind of sense. And I understand the problems it's causing, and I understand the money and all that kind of stuff that everyone's talking about. I've been listening to that for years. And people talk about that. And sometimes it's excessive, and there's a reality there that's kind of like exacerbated as far as like what it takes to clean it up, you know, unless like, you know, different with historical buildings and things like that. But, and like the charges and things that come along with that when you get in trouble for those things, or that used to happen. I don't know, you know, like there's got to be some way. I mean, because it basically became like a thing that I feel like is tolerated to the point where it is almost legal now. Because anyone can go do anything. Our crime is so crazy right now, and everything's going crazy. Like, you know, like with elections, I guarantee you that they're going to pick graffiti because they can't do anything about guns. They can't do anything about crime. They can't do anything about the drugs. I mean, almost it's like, is it too coincidental that all that happened at once? You know what I mean? So, and I'm not even getting into that shit. I don't even care because it's happening. You know what I mean? I'm just going to like keep my own thoughts in my head. I'm like, yeah, you know, whoever wants to be messy can be messy. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be smart, you be smart, and everyone can clown on whoever for whoever's not out there, you know? But that's like...
It seems to me that you could go one of two directions. You either pay someone good, like you, who has street cred, to do something. And then in my opinion, or in my mind, it seems like if somebody else came over and put something on top of yours, everybody in the community would be pissed, right?
Oh, yeah, I'll just get at them. I don't even care about the community then. At that point, I'm just going to take care of it because I don't care. That's the difference between me and some corporation or some other people. I can deal with it on my own, and I will. You know what I mean? And that's the part, is that people like are so used to people here in Portland being soft. I'm not from here. You know what I mean? And so I'm not here to cause a problem. But if you want to cause a problem with me, I'm like, happily get into it with you because I have more than enough time. You know what I mean? So,
well, okay. So you can either...
So I'll get at them, but I get happy that the community gets frustrated on my behalf, because like what I'm trying to provide them is some kind of beauty and inspiration, and like make them feel good. I'm trying to help what we all live in be something, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of graffiti in Portland, and some of it's really good.
Yeah, and some of it's
bad. And I drive on 84 to work every day.
You see the best of the best. You see the whole world.
There's some decent stuff. There's some really shitty stuff.
There is.
But you know the Target building that used to be the bowling alley?
Yep.
Somebody goes back there and puts some awful shit, and then Target will paint over it.
Yep.
And then a week later, it's
a war. It's like Office Max. Like we went and took over Office Max because it looked terrible.
Yeah.
I even went in there and talked to the manager dude. I was like, hey, I was like, it's just like burn spots and no one's doing anything. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't care about the graffiti in general. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of like it. But the fact that it's like burned and like not being used, and I see like potential there. I'm like, and there's this rule in graffiti: if you can't burn it, don't go over it. Like, which is if you can't do better, don't attempt.
Yeah.
So in this case, like I'm just like, no disrespect or whatever, but like maybe I'm gonna help you step it up, and I'm gonna do something over everything that's crap. In my mind, in my opinion, it's less effort. And more like the fuck you statement, like I don't care, and this is how we do, and da 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 da. It's like I'm literally like trying to do this shit so that I can burn. You know what I mean? I'm like following these rules, these older rules from the generation I come from. You know what I mean? And I still have respect for some of those people that are out there putting that work in the street. I do have a lot of respect for it, but it's getting like a little too like careless. It's getting a little too like no one cares. You know what I mean? And I don't know who's trying to get better and how they're trying to get better. And I really only think like everyone else, I could just sit back and watch and see who kind of comes out of it. You know what I mean? And that's what we hope for, is that maybe by chance all these kids get better. You know what I mean? And the city is covered in some dope. This would be the most colorful city ever in multiple ways. But there's always going to be those new starters and the newcomers, and it's always going to be, so we're always going to have this crap part. You know what I mean? That's happening.
Well, that's what I was getting at. In my opinion, or in my mind, it seems like there's two directions. You either let people do it and pay good people like yourself to do it, or you ban it and you stop selling spray paint.
Which then all of a sudden turns into, now it's a game to certain people to come here and do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People are still going to do it.
It's like, you got to think about it's like anything video games. It's like the challenge of a video game. It's like tell someone no, they're going to be like, oh, really?
Yeah.
That's always how it works. It's like finding a way to embrace all that somehow. And I don't know how, if that's even possible. You know what I mean? Like to where it's like kind of I feel like if a lot of those kids were being mentored kind of by older writers, as we do on my team, we'll take youngers and, but we kind of pick them by person, you know what I mean? Like what kind of qualities you have as a person, like respectful, you know what I mean? Like we all have that I don't give a shit, and we all do, but we all expect each other to be like, take care of your brother and your sister, take care of your family.
It's like an apprenticeship.
Yep. And so it's just about being good. You could leave us in 10 years and we'll just be proud that you're doing good. You know what I mean? Even if it ends on bad terms, the point is leaving you better than you came in and leaving you with that understanding. And that's what a lot of our generation, I don't think, did, was mentor a lot of the kids, because you see these kids and they're like idiot. It's just like us when we were young. It's like, you're an idiot. You're not smart enough to hold a can and go run around, dude. I'm not going with you. And plus, you're underage. No, this is just not happening.
I don't need that heat.
Yeah. Like if I get, like, I'm getting it all. I'm going for all this. This all goes on my. No one thinks about like the long haul. Everyone's like, oh yeah, like I went to jail. Like I did this and that, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna have a real hard time finding somewhere to live. You know what I mean? Like it affects other things, and I think a lot of people forget about it. Like, I don't care. I'll figure it out. Like, man, take it from someone who did that. Like, that is not the road. Maybe you might get it easy. Someone will hand you some money, or you around somebody with like extra money that might help you cover that up a little bit. But
well, so if Target paid you X amount of money to put some huge mural on the back of their building,
if it was graffiti oriented, probably would. But those corporations, like, honestly, like those, like, if anyone's going after anything, I'd rather them go after that than the local stuff, than the mom and pop shops and the local liquor stores or the local stores or anything of that, because those people have the insurance and things for that. Not that that's none of my thing.
See, you're saying you'd rather do it on a mom and pop than Target.
No, I'd rather fuck Target up and then leave the mom and pops and give mom and pops good stuff.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? Like, take care of them.
But that's what I'm saying, man. If you did the back at Target, then nobody would fuck with it, and it would just look good.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have those people that are like, But you know what the thing is like a deal. Like I would try to make with those people. I'd be like, just let it be open for us. You know what I mean? We'll change it. Let other people on it. Like, I don't want it to be just me. You know what I mean? Forever. Like, I'll drive up and down the freeway and like look at myself in the mirror.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, that's how I kind of want it, though. I would hope that it would be open to people. And that's what I'm trying to express to certain people, is that if you allow everybody a little piece of this, it'll kind of like change that hate toward, because there's a whole thing going on right now. It's like, fuck fuck murals.
Really?
Do you notice that around here? Like people just be bashing the mural. Like it's like, all right. And it's not always because the person's a bad person. It's just they're like anti-mural. You got paid for this, or you're an art student, or you're whatever. And it's just like this kind of like immature like way to look at things. I mean, you can look at it like, oh, I'm an anarchist, or like this is my view on it. I'm like, so many of those things that I'm hearing right now are contradicting themselves. And I'm like, it's just doing no good for anything that's happening here at all.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm nobody to say anything. That's my opinion personally. Like everyone else can have their own way of thinking about it. But that's what's kind of like, it's not doing any good. And everyone's going to like have a repercussion from this. And I don't think anyone remember, like people haven't gotten busted, obviously. That's one thing you can tell. There's people that haven't been in trouble with the law. There's people that haven't dealt with that kind of stress. And they're just out there like, and posting on Instagram. You know, it's like, and there's no effort to make anything that's happening in your area any type of better. It's really just like the anger from everything that's happening, which I don't blame people because it's frustrating.
Well, from a legal standpoint, is it illegal to spray paint the side of a building? Can you get arrested for that?
You can.
You can? So these people...
Right now, here specifically, they won't specifically go after you. They might come to you right now and ticket you, but I'm pretty sure something down the line will happen to you, or they'll investigate you or do... Who's going to leave that alone, especially if they see what they wrote and they documented it and you have a tendency to be everywhere?
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
You're causing massive damage.
If you spray paint something and then you post it on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. But it's paint.
But I mean, I guess unless you like take a picture of yourself actually doing it, they couldn't really prove that you did.
No, they can't.
I guess you're just showing that you viewed art. It's just everybody knows you did it.
Yeah, it's just like it's just a weird game to play. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things that like when we post things, it's like post something cool. Don't post the fact that you fucked something up. You know what I mean? Like focus on the piece. You know what I mean? And if that building is part of your piece and you have a specific, and it's just like a dope shot and I appreciate certain things about it, you know, but at the same time, I worry about people because I want to see it for a long time. I want to see it happening. I want to see it be good. I want to see it like be what it is.
Well,
you know?
Do you have, and you don't have to say this if you don't want to, because maybe you have future plans or something, but do you have a building in mind in Portland that you wish somebody would pay you to paint? No? You just do what you do?
Paint whatever I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I really want to do it, I'll do it. And in hopes that maybe it'll be a little more, you know, even though it always will piss somebody off, it's just like, just hopes that they'd be like, someone will see it for what it is and be like, I'm not trying to fuck your shit up. I'm trying to beautify shit. And,
but if it's a large piece, it's going to take you more than a couple hours, right? What's the most you've ever spent?
Days. I've taken on certain things. I've taken like 3-4 days.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking about just like non-permissible, you know what I mean? Like 3 days. You don't want to be there too long.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's like an in and out. You practice, you get good, you're fast.
So do you practice at home, like in a warehouse or in a garage or anything? Everything you do, it can be viewed.
I just draw. Yeah, I draw a lot. I paint a lot. And then I spray paint a lot, like of pieces. And I do a lot of murals. I do what we call, my favorite thing to do right now is old school style productions, like graffiti productions, which are multiple people with color background, characters. It's like almost a theme, but I don't like themes, like specific themes. Like you could be like, oh, Batman themed or any of that. I don't like any of that. If I did do one recently. It was like Ninja Turtles, but I only did like Bebop and Rocksteady, and then just very small hints of that, and then just colored everything accordingly, and made it a sewer background.
Nice.
So it's like, it's just about creating something cool and imaginary for people around, and like maybe it gets kids going, like me, you know. That whatever that guy drew on that wall back there with that character with his mouth open pointing at the ground and all that graffiti, like this is what happened. It's me. I'm a product of that, like 100%. Like it had such an impact on me that I love graffiti in every form. And I love that there's so much. I just wish that the community of people could understand more and together. I don't know how that you can't do that really. I think it's, you know, almost feels impossible.
Well, that's the other thing that I just thought of as you were talking is part of the allure is that you're not supposed to do it.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes to you and offers to pay you and everyone knows then it takes part of it out, doesn't it?
It makes it weird. It doesn't have the same feeling. For me, it doesn't kill it because I'm always still painting. You know what I mean? Like legal or illegal, I'm painting. You know what I mean? I love it. Like, that's why it was illegal for a while, because I didn't have anyone that would give me a chance to go paint. So I'd go find tunnels. I'd go find places that I could stay 2-3 hours to paint, and like then come back down and put one right next to it. Put one right next to it. I'd be practicing my outlines, practicing my colors, practicing, trying not to bother anybody. You know, but then someone see me, I mean, they're going to go to jail. I could go to prison. I'm going to be charged so much money. They're going to punish me for being creative, for that being my outlet. You know, even that's why I get so upset with the way that everything's made out to be, because I'm like, it's paint. It's paint. There needs to be a different way to be figured this. They need to figure this out. You know what I mean? They're all ahead. These people are smarter than this. And if you're not, then you shouldn't fucking be there. Period.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so, but like I said, time's changing, everything's changing, everything's kind of going like forwards and backwards. We're just kind of watching it be like on a ship, you know, a marble on a ship. It's just like, whoa, which way is it going to go?
Well, I think Portland's so fucked up right now, they don't have time to pay attention to people spray painting buildings.
I love that. But they're going to come back to it, and it's election season. So what they're going to do is they're going to be like, put somebody on the news and be like, look at and clean up a couple walls and use us as the scapegoat, the easy scapegoat, because the low hanging fruit is the easiest to make the sale on. You know what I mean? Like, it was just right there. You know what I mean? And so, and like you said, these kids are just out there having fun. You know, they're like catching a couple beers and walking around, or, you know, or whatever, you know, ditching their parents for the night, you know what I mean? And it's like, they're just running around having fun, and it's just getting out of hand.
Yeah.
At this point. And that's why I say it's important to just people be like, kind of like, don't make a big fucking deal out of it, and it won't, you know what I mean? Take the taboo out of this shit, please. I just want it to be like, you know, because that's what's happening right now. Everyone's like, oh yeah. It's like, dude, it's not good. It's all sucky. Everything sucks. Like, your writing sucks. Like, you need to practice. You don't get better by just doing your same crap over and over. You have to have like someone like show you. You have to be like outwardly influenced by something. It could be art. It could be a cereal box. It could be like anything. It could be graffiti itself. Like, I try to look outside of graffiti now for influence, because it's like the same thing just keep happening. It's not a old thing. You know what I mean? It's but the thing is weird. It stopped progressing right now. It's just people are really technical.
Yeah. Do you know much about the history? When did people start doing it?
Oh, it's been going on, I think, forever. You know what I mean? But hip hop graffiti, I think, is like, you know, it started to come about like mid 70s, or like, you know, late 70s, 80s. But before that, they were all like smoking dust and listening to like Black Sabbath, and it has nothing to do with hip hop. You know what I mean? So, and you know then, because that was happening then, that it was happening before. It was happening. Someone else was doing it. And I don't know which specific place it was like heavier at, or where it specifically actually started. There's huge arguments about that, but I don't even know.
It's got to be somewhat tied to when spray paint became a product.
Oh, of course. But even if you think about before that, they were like in California, the shoe shine boys and them, they were using brushes. They were using like their, you know, the polished, you know, I'm trying to blank on the name, but they were using that ink, you know, to draw that out. But
that's different than spray paint, right?
Yeah. But they were still doing the same kind of marking the same names. Gotcha. They were doing it stylized names. They made sure that they were taking pride in their letters. You know, it represented something to them. It was like a skill. Yeah, it's just like such a, I think, a natural thing, really, that it's just kind of now has the name that we have it as.
Well, when I reached out to you, and I think I used the word graffiti, and after I said that, I was like, fuck, maybe I'm not supposed to call it that.
No, it's what it is. It's what it is. You know what I mean? Okay. It's not street art. Okay. I don't do street art. It's like one of those things that like, no, it's perfect. Like tagging and stuff like those are weird words. You know what I mean? Taggers, tagging. It'd just be like we just like writers. They wrote all over my shit.
Okay. So that's what you say is writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So so then there's like writers and vandals, and then there's like style writers, which I think I'm a style writer, but I'm like naturally, I hate to, you know, just like I'm naturally a vandal. You know what I mean? So, but people are so like, by those words, you know what I mean? But it's like something you got to think about as true spirit. Like I have drive, like I have like a thing. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, but the intention behind mine is so much, I think, my own personal thing that, You can't put that on anyone else and expect anyone else to kind of follow that same shit. You know what I mean?
Well, so going back, you said that you were not trained or taught or anything. You kind of did everything yourself, and you said that you learned color theory through painting as well. So do you have specific colors that you like more than others?
I love like red. I love what do you call it? Like that. What is it? It's like a pistachio green, like, you know, the orange, ready orange. You know what I mean? Teal. Like, you'll see a lot of those, green and purple. Like, I like weed a lot. So it's like you see a lot of weed colors in there.
California sober.
Yeah, I'm like, whoof, all the way. Give me the jersey. I'll sport it.
I like purple too.
It's a good color.
It's weird how some colors just speak to you more than others.
It is. And I think it's a mood thing too sometimes, because I'll go through years where it's like some years it's pink, sometimes it's orange. I'll just like fluctuate between those two. And then, but always green and purple. Always. Always.
And so you don't have to call out the brand, but you probably have a specific type you get, right?
Loop is like one of my favorite brands right now. I know everyone has their thing to say about it. Loop spray paint. It's like, it's awesome.
So these
Montana Black and like Montana 94, Montana Hardcore, like I can use all, I love all of them. Rust-Oleum, Kills, Dollar, Home Depot paint, spray paint. You know what I mean? It's spray paint. I can use it.
Yeah.
It's like.
Do any of them manufacture with the intent of having writers use it?
Almost all the ones that I just named, except for Rust-Oleum and like the Home Depot brands that you see there, are made for us. So it's specifically geared towards us.
Are they more expensive than the Home Depot kind?
Yeah, they're like $8, $7 to 8. Well, here they're like $7 to $8 a can. And then if you go out of town, like it goes down to like $3.50 or whatever. But like I said, they have like that weird law here where they like ID you. They like take your ID and write your ID down in the thing. I'm like, well, have fun with that, because that's just a lot of work.
And then what? Put you in some database or something?
Yeah, I guess. You know what I mean? But you have so many street artists and so many other people using spray paint. You're not really like, you're not really singling anything out. You know, moms and dads buy that stuff for their freaking chairs and bikes.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that. You know what I mean? But it's like, man, it's just such a harsh thing. It's paint. But I understand there's things that it messes up and it makes it really hard. But that's where I think people need to start, like, that almost tells you how smart a person is sometimes, you know, or how, like, that person has issues. You know what I mean? They just felt the need to just be like, smack that right there. And hopefully it looks good. And like, hopefully it's standable. That's like what I always wait. I always like when I see them from afar, I'm like, oh man, is it going to be the same or is it going to be different? Because once you've seen them you've seen them all. It feels like. There's very rarely that you see ones that you're like, catch your eye and you're like, that is cool. I can appreciate how consistent the line work is on there. I can appreciate how solid that is filled in. I can appreciate their balance, and you know, people don't care about that. They just instantly see it. And everyone needs something to be mad at these days, you know? So they're like, oh, what did they do? I'm just like, because I remember this dude in my life, Michael, he was like, you know, I remember driving up on this church and he was so mad that he's all, they graffitied the church. And I was just like looking at it and I was just all, just white, like, you can just wash it off, paint over it. He was so upset, you know what I mean? And I understand they'd be like, they're disrespecting, but it's like, that person that did that, they're probably not even thinking that. They're probably just like, oh, it's a blank space and I got a can of spray paint I found in a garage. Let's draw something. That's most of the time what happens, you know? Oh, let's do it. But now, because of the internet, people are like, graffiti, and they're like, I want to write cool like that. They'll give their try at it, and they don't know how to do it. So in their mind, them just writing differently than their normal handwriting on a piece of paper is cool. Yeah. But not to us. We're just like, nope, it's garbage. You need to go home and study. You know, practice.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a different medium. It's not, it's physically coming out of a little tab at the end. It's completely different than using a paintbrush or drawing with a pencil.
It is.
It seems like it would require so much skill.
It's a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a lot of practice. Confidence. It's a lot of practice and confidence. You know what I mean? Just like being able to just throw it and just know where it's going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what if you make a mistake? Can you go back over it?
I can clean it up real quick. I try not to make mistakes. I work at not making mistakes through the process. And if I do make mistakes, I improvise I use it in the process. So it becomes part of it. It's almost like it adds to it. So in some ways you hope for mistakes. I love mistakes. They'll sometimes like change things. Yeah. You know, in certain ways that are just beautiful. You know, just like life.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. really messed up, but you know where to go now, right?
Yeah. No, I play music, and I know what you mean, because sometimes you don't have control over that type of stuff. It just kind of happens, and you're like, well, I don't know. I don't even know where that came from. Yeah.
And it might even be just like, you know, like maybe even playing, or like how you're doing a line, you know what I mean? Like you just didn't practice this one corner of this line. You know what I mean? This one bottom part. And since you didn't, it's going to show. So you better like do that and then stop and then focus on how your hand's going to do that, or just keep doing that thing over and over until you find out how to do it in one. You got to like adapt to it, you know, unless you're going to use it. Because if you get those kinks, you could use those kinks and it creates like a stylized thing because you had that kink and no one else is doing the kink. You know, everyone's trying to get it perfect.
No one else is doing the kink, man.
Yeah.
Well, so how often do you do something and then you come by it a year to 5 years later and you're disappointed? You wish you could do it over?
Always.
Yeah, like 10 minutes after you're done, you're like, fuck this thing.
Yep. I'm like, I'm over it. I don't want to see it for 2 weeks. And then like after I like don't see it for a little bit, I'll come back and I'm like, oh, that's not so bad. But I could have done this.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know that too. It's like with the music, like it could always be better. There could always be more. It could always mean more. It could always or it could always mean less.
Yeah.
You know? Be like,
well, yeah. I mean, do you go back by sometimes and appreciate it on a different level? Because like
sometimes
who you were in that moment?
Certain days, like if it's certain days, certain memories attached to it, or like, or if I worked really hard for one in any way, like I will sit and go smoke a joint with it. Treat it like a person. You know what I mean? I'm not hurt if they get written on or they get destroyed. That's just like part of it, or if they disappear. But so it's like kind of being present with it and enjoying it when you feel it, and then leaving it to the rest of the world to enjoy or hate or do whatever they want to do with it, you know, because that's what it's there for. It's there to provoke whatever emotion it is, you know, to provoke for anyone.
Yeah, it's cool. You said that you said you talk to it. Yeah, because it kind of becomes a thing once you finish it.
Yeah,
it's like
it's alive. You put all your energy and focus in that thing. You think that thing doesn't have anything happening with it?
Yeah, man. Any creative thing that you do, it becomes something of itself. Because
same thing with the names. If the name you name yourself and those things, I feel like they follow a person. Like, so if you're young and you start and doing stuff, like there was this friend that I had. He had a really cool name. He made it up really young, but it was essential knowledge overcomes supernatural enemies. It was Ecos, and so that was just something that stuck with me for a long time. And he's just like one of my favorite people. And it's like it's crazy because then you have other people that have, you know, things to their names, and some of them have their real names in them. You know what I mean? So I can't really tell them like parts of their real names, but I feel like it carries an energy with it that will, like, you know, like if your name's confusing, it'll be like you're a confusing motherfucker. If your name seems kind of shady and shitty, you're kind of a shitty and shady motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you have something that's positively driven, it's more likely positive. Same thing. Weird's weird. It all equals the same thing. Whatever energy you put, either making or saying or doing anything you build, that's what it's going to carry.
Yeah.
That's what you got. That's what you asked for. It's almost like a silent manifestation.
Yeah. I mean, all things have energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think I've noticed that it does truly have an effect on people and what they do. And I just sit and watch it. That's all I really like to do is just observe other stuff. I stay really to myself and quiet side of my work. And I just like to watch what goes on. Because I've been involved. I've been into a lot of things. And so now it's just kind of sit back and be like, this.
Do you ever go out of town to do work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just came back from Newport. I was working with Portland Street Art Alliance. And they had a client that specifically asked for me, and I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it. Sounded like a fun job. I normally don't like working with a lot of people or like art groups or anything like that, but like they provide a lot of opportunities for a lot of artists, and I get, you know, they're building their things. We've had our issues, but all around I think they're trying to do something positive, and they're sustaining a lot of the businesses around here from, you know, helping them feel like they still can sustain and not have to go out there and have their families paint the walls and do that kind of stuff. That's what that's for, I think, you know, because they don't go around asking for walls. I know that for a fact. And, I'm more the type to be like, I want to paint anything and everything, and I'm not really money oriented. So I'll approach a lot of people. You know what I mean? I'll be in there like, hey, can I have your wall? You know what I mean? I'm tired of. I want to leave my other ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then find new ones. And then I'm trying to find ones right now where I can get multiple people on them, and they can be like ever changing. So almost even every weekend, someone else can be over there. It doesn't matter if it gets fucked up or not, because there's always gonna be somebody to go there and do something. Because everyone wants to paint every weekend. Everyone wants to be doing it.
Yeah.
Whether it be legal or illegal, I think that's just all of us just want to be doing it. And so we'll come up with excuses and justify it in every way, like, fuck the government, or, oh, I'm creating this beautiful thing, or I hate my life. It'd be like, it can be all those things, you know? It's what makes it fun. But I think that honestly, everybody just wants to do it because it's cool. You know what I mean? And so
it is cool when it looks nice.
Part. Yeah, it's the craziest part. And so trying to get good and make it cool takes practice. So we have to deal with all the crap in the way, you know? All right, though. It's all right. I'd rather see that than the blank.
Well, but I mean, is the Portland market stronger than New York City or LA or Chicago or?
No. I think that it just has its own thing. Each place has its own thing and its own way of working and its own community and its own rules and history. And people need to, like, you know, look at the history of things like Clutch from around here. He is like I think he's just such a great individual, but he has a lot of artwork in Southeast Portland. I mean, and he's just like, he's had a lot of health issues, and like, I respect this man more than almost any of the men that I've met in my life. You know, he's been so real and so honest, and in his work and with what he wants to do, and his person that, I mean, he's in, like, you know, what you could say was, he's in his like 60s, and, you know, who knows how long he's got, but he's just doing what he loves every day, you know, and trying to be happy every day. And then you got people out here that are, and not to mention the building that he's painting is an 80-year-old man's building who's been here forever, and won't sell to the big corporations and stuff. And so you got all these other fuck mural guys that are going out there and wrecking his stuff. And because he came up in some like debate, and people mistake him because he has so much around, they're like, what are you, some corporate, you know, commercial painter? Like, nah, he's just some like hardcore punk cowboy ass like dude. Like, you know, he is a hardcore dude, and he has so much stuff around that I would be mad too. Yeah, this guy has stuff everywhere. I wish I was that. You see me competing for that. You know what I mean? I'm like, but I don't compete. I just want to add with him. I follow his footsteps, like make the community beautiful. I want to see all this. I want to do it.
Well, I think that happens with anybody. As soon as they get some sort of recognition or financial security or something, then people just want to shit on them.
Yeah, they do a lot of the time. It's the craziest thing. You know, it's just unhappiness, I think, within that person of being like, well, how come I'm not there? Yeah. I should, you know, and it's like, it's almost like you got to kind of like be empathetic to that person and be like, damn, man, like, hopefully you see it, you know, if that's, you know, how some people are. I'm like, hopefully they see it, you know, eventually. And they're like, you can, and you could be, just don't focus that hateful ass energy on. Yeah. If you put that on the paper, you're going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because that's going to turn into something, especially if you have that much in you all the time. Eventually it's going to get neater and more focused. And what do they call that? It's going to be like enunciated. It's going to, your words are going to be clear, you know, but in like picture form, like everything's going to get real neat and precise, and your point's going to be made. Yeah. So it's like that focus is important.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other things that you hope to do? Like, I don't know, design a skateboard deck or something else like that?
I want to do some really big paintings. Like, I'm talking like as big as this wall, you know, like 25 by like, you know, 15 or like something like that. Just like, and have like a really cool show. As far as like painting, I think I'm just going to continue like spray painting. Yeah. I'll just continue making as much as I can make for me and my neighborhood and where I live, and for others who tend to like that. But really it's just about doing more and being better and enjoying it. And so that's what I really look forward to now, is being so present in what I do that I feel full. Yeah. You know, that's really what it's about right now, is feeling full, mm-hmm. and not so much out there to make a point or disturb anything. It's like, let's just make the things we wanted to see when we were a kid.
Yeah, dude. I'm 38 years old, and I don't really know what I'm doing or where I'm going, but I enjoy doing this, and
That's how you start.
I enjoy hanging out with my kids.
Yep.
I enjoy
That's how you start.
going to Europe. So I'm just
See,
trying.
I haven't done that. I've never left this country at all, and
It's
I look
fun.
forward to it.
It's fun.
But that's exactly where you start. That's how you do it, is that enjoyment, like sitting there, your music, doing these podcasts, like meeting people. It gives you something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot. You're creating a platform for people to talk
Mm-hmm.
and get to know people and maybe understand things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure I'll be back there because I have you marked in my thing to where I'm like, I'm going to watch a bunch of these. And I didn't get a chance before I came here, so I didn't know what I was getting into. I was actually kind of like, hopefully it's not this thing's going to here to tear me up or whatever. But I'll be like, but I was ready for it. You know what I mean? I was going to be here and be calm and peaceful, and whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? But it was just all about, you're doing your thing, and I want to support people doing their thing. And if I'm out of your norm, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and hopefully you'll get more of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Life is short.
Where'd you
And
approach?
I think people should just be more focused on trying to be happy day to day, because the older we get, man, you just don't know how much time you have.
Yeah,
I could get hit by a car tomorrow.
Yep.
Like, let's hang out now and have a good time.
It's like Clutch. I was talking about, he'd like, you know, all of a sudden have a heart attack, have a brain aneurysm. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be lucky to come back. You'd be lucky to be in the position you're in right now. It's like I always tell people, like, I dealt with suicide a lot, and I like attempted a lot. And actually, when I wasn't attempting, I actually did it more successfully than, like, you know, overdosing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this point that came, like, I don't know, it's kind of like a stupid moment where you're like, kind of like watching a VHS, you know what I mean? Like, eventually you're like, you're like, oh God, you know, we're in the boring part of the movie, or I don't want to watch this, so depressing. It's like, whatever. And you turn it off. What if you, like, you know, you couldn't turn it back on? You want to see the rest of the movie. You want to see how it ended out. Maybe like once you got over there, if you're like any type of conscious, whatever, or if that was that or whatever you believe in. I mean, I always feel like I wanted to live this experience fully, and I didn't realize that until I have had those experiences of losing myself and losing everything, and like, we're here trying to build it back strong so that I can experience it in the best way I can, like, fully. You know what I mean? Might be a little stoned here and there, like, you know what I mean? But like, literally, I just want to feel it. I want to enjoy it, so that when I'm gone, I got whatever I got the most.
Yeah.
You know, whatever I could get out of it, I could, as far as enjoyment and experience, and maybe that'll go somewhere. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, who gives a fuck? It's my time, damn it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna spend it the way I want to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, dude. I think that's a great spot to end it.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for coming down, dude.
Fuck yeah, dude. Thank you for having me.